Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. The horrific death of Queen Victoria's grandson. One of the most beloved grandchildren of Queen Victoria died on the 14th of January 1892, but he was a man who was linked to one of the most sadistic crimes in history. Prince Albert Victor died inside of Sandringham House, and he was the son of the later King Edward VII, but he died from a huge disease outbreak that was sweeping across Britain. He took his final breath in his chamber, but there was a huge amount of shock, as Albert Victor was considered to have been a great hope for the monarchy. But his life would be a nightmare. He would never become king or even the Prince of Wales, or heir apparent, as his father held the position for a significant time due to the length of reign his grandmother Queen Victoria had. But what is the story of the horrific death of Queen Victoria's grandson? Prince Albert Victor was a man who was not in the best health. He was born 2 months premature, and he was the first child of Edward VII and Alexandra of Denmark. He was named after Victoria's deceased husband Albert as a tribute, and he received the best education. But he was not the healthiest boy. His premature birth impacted his development, and some claimed that he inherited his mother's deafness, and also he suffered intellectually, and some historians have also claimed that he suffered from a form of learning disability. Despite being given the best education, Albert Victor could not keep up. He was separated from his brother, Prince George, and was given alternative education, but was later sent to train with the Navy. However, Albert Victor did catch the horrific typhoid fever. He was treated by the royal doctors, and it's mostly believed that it was this that killed his grandfather, the man he was named after. But at some point, Albert Victor's life as a prince became under immense scrutiny, and he was linked to a huge scandal in England. In July of 1889, the Metropolitan Police discovered a male brothel in London on Cleveland Street. At the time, homosexuality was illegal, and the men who worked there and the clients who attended the brothel were subjected to punishment of years of hard labour. The Cleveland Street scandal implicated many high-ranking members of society, and it was said by the workers that Prince Albert Victor himself was a man who regularly visited the brothel, but there were a number of rumours also circulating about him. There were threats to name him in the scandal, and his father, the heir, received letters demanding money to keep quiet. There was an alleged cover-up, but the damage to his reputation was large, and the New York Times referred to him as a dullard and a stupid, perverse boy, who would damage the monarch should he ever come onto it. Lord Arthur Somerset, who was also implicated in the scandal, said he did not know Albert's attendance, and he said, "I can quite understand the Prince of Wales being much annoyed at his son's name being coupled with the thing. That was the case before I left it. We were both accused of going to this place, but not together. They will end by having out in open court exactly what they are all trying to keep quiet. I wonder if it is really a fact or only an invention." But rumours continued, and many of them were very damaging. There was difficulty to begin with finding him a wife, and then in 1889 Queen Victoria wanted him to marry Princess Alix of Hesse and by Rhine, one of her granddaughters, but his proposal was rejected. She would later marry Nicholas II of Russia, but then another lady was suggested, Princess Margaret of Prussia, but nothing came. He was falling in love with Princess Helena of Orleans, his cousin, but Queen Victoria did not like this. He did eventually marry Princess Victoria Mary of Teck, the daughter of the Queen's first cousin, but there was more scandal involved with Albert Victor. This emerged after a woman had died by drinking carbolic acid. Newspapers claimed that Albert Victor had tried to force her to give up a career in the theatre. But then he was linked to paying off other women he had slept with, but his health was not in the best state. He suffered from many illnesses, and he suffered from fevers or gout, and many said he was also suffering from venereal diseases or gonorrhea, caused by him sleeping around. The medical notes on his treatment have been lost to time, but he was known to have taken medicine for this sort of problem. But around the time of his marriage, he was being considered to become the Viceroy of Ireland. However, there was a deadly outbreak of disease spreading across Britain. It was known as Russian flu, and it killed around 1 million people, with up to 900 million cases reported around the world. There was no treatment for this, and many different treatments were used, and some sufferers were even given strychnine to help cure it. But this was obviously poisonous. Prince Albert Victor caught the flu and had been attending a shooting party at Sandringham. When on this trip he complained that he was cold and chilly and that he had contracted a cold, but then things got slightly worse as the days went on. He tried to walk home after feeling rough, and he kept trying to get warm, but he ate dinner with his family before he went back to bed, as he was not very well. The next day he rejoined the shooting party, but he was not well, and that night he went into bed about 8:30 in the evening. The following day he was in good spirits, but was clearly sick, and he could not get out of bed. But then things went downhill, and the best doctors in London were summoned to Norfolk to treat Prince Albert Victor. He could not shake off the flu, and inside of Sandringham House he would retire to his bed once and for all. He was just 27, and the royal family did not seem to care too much, as they believed he would get over this. But this was not the case. Albert Victor's flu then turned into pneumonia, and his parents, along with his sisters, were ordered to come to his bedside as things were quickly going downhill. The best royal doctors and nurses could not do anything, but they were praying he would recover, and priests were then reciting prayers for him recovering. But it was clear in the room that he was dying, and he would not get better, as one of his lungs was heavily affected. And then, on the 14th of January, 1892, a week before his 28th birthday, Prince Albert Victor died. The whole nation was gobsmacked, and his father told Queen Victoria that he would have given his own life for his son. And Princess Mary, his mother, it was said, had a despairing look, which was the most heart-rending thing I have ever seen. His brother would state, "How deeply I did love him, and I remember with pain nearly every hard work and little quarrel I ever had with him, and I love to ask his forgiveness, but it is too late now." People across England were shocked, as they believed the royal family were above dying from the diseases which was rife, and one newspaper wrote, "The startling news of the death of the Duke of Clarence was received in London between 9 and 10 o'clock yesterday, Thursday morning, and occasioned a great shock of sorrow throughout the length and breadth of the land. It had been believed all along that there was a ray of hope that the Duke would recover, but this was ruthlessly dashed to the ground, and the most profound sympathy is expressed for the royal family, and especially for Princess Mary, who for some none but the tenderest condolences are expressed. A special correspondent at Sandringham states that an inquiry at Sandringham House at 8 o'clock yesterday, Thursday morning, he was informed that there was no unfavourable change in the Duke's condition. A later telegram, however, stated that the Duke of Clarence breathed his last between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Nothing was posted at the gates, but the porter was directed to inform inquirers that all was over. The news of her grandson's death was broken to Queen Victoria gently, as it was believed that too much stress and upset could have been the tipping point for her also. His brother George would take his place in the line of succession, but Albert Victor's short life as a prince and as a member of the royal family was one which was surrounded in scandal around every corner. He was linked to the crimes of Jack the Ripper. His funeral took place, and he was then laid to rest in the Albert Memorial Chapel in the grounds of Windsor Castle. But he was a man whose life brought shame to the royal family. But his death at the age of 28 shocked the nation, and he would have been king should he have lived. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.